Guardians, we've picked up a high-gain transmission. Origin point is somewhere along the coast, near the Cosmodrome.
Welcome to Cosmodrome Radio, episode 61, folks. We are officially past 60. We looking fresh. We 40 away from 100, and we looking great. We are
from 69.
We are a month, less than a month away. Actually, no, literally a month right now today. We are a month away from the final shape. It is going to be down. Happy May the 4th. If you celebrate, we are all force wielders in our own way. We do this because we do it and we love doing it. Wow. He just waves the freaking lightsaber in the corner. I'm about to say all my Star Wars shit's in there. My Doctor Who vinyl's on the table though. But that's not that. I need to actually get some more Star Wars shit. I got comic shit and I got Destiny shit and Pokemon shit, and Doctor Who shit, but no Star Wars shit. I feel like
tell me you got ADHD without telling me you got ADHD.
I know, right? But don't forget, folks, you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those great places. Spotify, you're still our MVP. You were the ones putting out the most listens, so we appreciate y'all. Y'all putting in mad work. Make sure that you rate and review this show. If you're trying to leave a review of the show on Apple Podcasts, you need to scroll down, because if you just go there and you're like, I don't see it, I'm like, you need to scroll down past the episodes. And there's like a whole thing that's like review. But Spotify, it's just like listen to one episode and you can review it. But please make sure you review us on both those platforms to help people find us better. That definitely is a big thing that you can do to help us out. Always follow us on Twitter/X if you believe in the conspiracies of Elon. I don't care. It's whatever it is, what it is. Is what I don't know. And make sure that you make sure you cop your pre-orders, because the final shape is a month away. My name is Jay Paracausal. To the glory that is the return this week has been the greatest thing ever. But what do I mean, folks? Blast Furnace has returned. I have already gotten 2 sexy rolls, one for PvE and one for PvP, and the butteriness, like I'm a quote Bridge from Power Rangers SPD, the butteriness of it is just so, I missed it. It was my baby. I even got the best roll for PvE where it's Kinetic Tremors and Frenzy, and it's a shiny variant. It just cooks. It cooks, and it just feels like a laser. I'm so happy. That thing barely moves. And I'm so happy to be back in possession of my favorite. And then we know next month I get Perfect Paradox back. No one will be safe. No enemy will be safe from my wrath. Then over on the right, we got our spicy man. No longer Jesus, but we love him all the same. Cajun, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Freaking still Buried Bloodline continues to evade me. Sherpa, a buddy of mine, his second fucking run, and he got it.
That's hilarious.
I have now a streak of fucking Sherpaing people into dungeons and raids, and on their first or second attempt, they get the fucking exotic. And I'm like, Bungie, really? And then I'm gonna call out McMonkey said that my RNG is a skill issue, to which I say, fuck you. But I love you still, brother. Oh my god! But no, freaking, it's really been fun this week in Destiny. It was really interesting to see the Twid drop out. I know we're gonna be talking about it because you're like semi-heated about it, but at the same time,
I'm not heated. I'm gonna be controversial, is what and it's more so pettiness, but we'll get to it.
But at the same time, it was really, really interesting for those that are on the Twitter lands. The post from Salta Greppo, that was a doozy, but I think it's one of those, we need to have a little bit of a come to Jesus meeting, the whole entire Destiny 2 community, to really kind of bring ourselves back to reality, how we view things.
I wasn't gonna talk about it, but yeah, I'll pull it up. Fuck it. Well, we can dive into it. It's worth talking about.
But in the meantime, I'm not the only one here, and Jay's not the only one here. We also have with us the one, the only Byrdman. What's up, brother?
How's it going, guys? Good to see you.
Fellow
Appreciate having
Titan
me on.
main, it feels good to not be alone in these streets anymore.
Crown eater to my core since day one. I mean, Bubble Titan was my everything in Destiny 1, and it's obviously evolved over time, but Titan is, I mean, every time we get those like reviews after like a season or whatever, like how much you played, it's like I'm always 90% above, in Titan in some way, shape, or form.
So one thing that we've been trying to do with each guest that we have is let them tell their ghost story. Like what got you into Destiny, and like what has been your journey so far from day one?
Oh geez. So the beta the summer before it came out, just playing on Crucible and everything, going over to homie's house, had our Xboxes set up, playing it. It was absolute glorious experience. And then I was in college at the time, and I mean that night going to GameStop, picking it up and grinding out, I mean, essentially the entire story until we had to go to class the next day was everything. And then, I mean, the rest is history since then, more than anything. Yeah. It's to this day, it's probably my favorite game. All the controversy, all the shit and everything aside, like it's the one game that I can always depend on.
Most definitely. Hell yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive into the mix, because Tuesday came not just for Blast Furnace, hallelujah, but Bungie came out swinging this week, and Pantheon hit the airways for the good people. And I will be the first one to say, holy shit. Like, this thing caught me off guard. And I wanted this to be the first topic specifically because of the fact that I'm not going to call anybody out in the community specifically, but I want to call the community at large about this. I think this was a time where people needed to take a good look in the mirror and know their limits. And know what needed to be done when it comes to coming into the game. And granted, I'm a little bit guilty of this too, where I said, you know what, y'all are hungry to go in here, cool, your new lights, I'll take you in here and see how it goes. But I think a big thing that needs to be talked about is the fact that you need to not be so hungry to go into endgame content when you're not ready. And so many individuals just threw themselves at this. And when you don't even have a raid under your belt, like there was a dude who literally just joined the clan recently who had never done a raid before, but was hungry to do Pantheon. Or on Tuesday, when I was LFGing to find a team of strong enough raiders to go into Pantheon for the show, there was people trying to send me their raid reports who had done like maybe 2 raids. And it was like, that's not gonna work. Like, because Golgoroth, you can kind of get away with entry level people, but the minute you get to Caretaker, it's a whole different ball game. Like if you like, there was people coming in with font mods on, and for people who don't know, font mods are something they added to the game with the new mod system in Witch Queen, where you're able to like sort of compensate for different mod, like different stat distributions you don't have. That like each font mod gives you 25%. I'm 25 points, I believe. And people were using these to compensate for where their holes in their system was. And I genuinely was concerned about people, because this has been similar to other LFG situations I've had, whether it be for GMs or master raids, where people just join in and they're like hungry for loot because content creators tell them, hey, this is only going to be around for a limited time. And it's like, are you sure this is for you? Like, and the thing about it is it comes off like you're gatekeeping when you just want the best for individuals. But it makes you come off in a bad way when it's just like, yo, I don't know if you're going to have a fun time in here.
I think like a couple of things is like people just need to like get a couple regular runs of it, of like raids under their belt first. Like even before, like you can be like today, we're like, hey, I want to go run Pantheon, but I'm going to go, like I think we were talking about earlier, go run Deepstone real quick. Go run, Vault of Glass real fast. Understand the fact that like when you're going into raids, there's going to be ongoing moving mechanics where you have to like change and jump on the fly. Golgoroth, I think, is one where it's really like essentially 2 people are like kind of really stuck in like hard mechanics during it, and it's usually just like gaze and stuff like that, or watching debuff getting like the Untamed Light, running up and doing that. That's like pretty simple. But the second you get to Caretaker, you have people doing one group doing ads, one group doing stunning, and one group doing running, and that's a completely different thing. And if you're like someone who's new, you're probably gonna get stuck on ad clear every single time, which is not going to be a fun experience. It's not going to be the true raid
it's not.
experience.
And especially from what I was seeing with Caretaker, like you need to have a really good kit, even for ad clear, because you had some chunky boys, you had a bunch of freaking heavy hitters. You know, it's not even then. Putting someone who's fairly new to raiding on ad clear on something like Pantheon wasn't a go-to. And I'm gonna tell this right now. The reason why a lot of new lights or returning players or those lacking in the raid experience thought, hey, I can jump into Pantheon, right? Because it's gonna be a limited time thing, is because of Into the Light.
Yeah.
Into the Light's like, hey, here's free DLC, here's content that we're gonna keep around, but it's gonna have some limited time stuff in it. But anybody can go jump into it and reap these rewards. And now they're like, oh, here's a new raid boss rush mode. And they're thinking, oh, I can participate in this as well. And I don't think that might have been freaking really communicated. But then again, and I'm not trying to throw shade, it's one of those things of people don't read or pay attention, or
that's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Well, that's like a thing too.
It's like, hey, shiny stuff, but there's finer print to it.
I mean, that's like the thing too, is the fact that really the only week that's going to even be completely accessible to any player was this week, and we have only like 2 days left of that. Once it goes plus 10, you're going to be funneled more into certain setups that, again, if you are like a new light player who's like only playing like off of free gear, playing off of Into the Light gear, you're gonna get your butt whooped really, really fast and really bad, and you're gonna have a bad experience. And unfortunately, that's gonna you're eventually gonna like reflect on it and be like, oh my gosh, I hated this because it was just so hard and so difficult. Well, this is a different style of mode than anything else. I mean, it hits a certain point where it's going to be those end gamers, those top people who are really fighting for it.
Yeah, and that's the big concern that I have as I'm like live editing, because I messed up and Bird's camera went away. Literally the situation at hand is like people like I'll admit, I'll be the first one to say, when we finish Golgoroth and a Smite Moraine Harrow drop for me, I'll admit that was kind of cool. But at the same time, did I have the understanding that the Golgoroth, especially when like the invisible taken Minotaurs show up, is kind of like, oh shit? Yes. And even on Friday, when I took some new lights through it, they were like, hey, I died to the Minotaur. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right, because you weren't paying attention, because you were new to this. You're new, you're trying to understand these mechanics, and that's totally okay. That's totally valid. But if you're not ready for what is coming for you, you're gonna have it's like that meme from South Park. You're gonna have a bad time. And this is something that I've been trying to speak on for a long time. And the thing about it is, like, so many individuals are like, but we want to do the content like everybody else. Well, what if you're not ready for that? Like, it harkens back to the story I told before from when I was LFG for Ron day one, where I was trying to recruit people, and one dude joined and was like super excited. He was a Titan main. He sent me his raid report. He'd only done 2 King's Falls before. And I was like, bro, I don't know if you're gonna have fun in here. And like, I even told him, look, I'll bring you into the clan. I will teach you any raid you want. I will help you grow as a character. But he was like, you're just gatekeeping. You don't want me on your team. And I was like, that's not what we're doing here. I'm trying to help you. Like, I'm trying to.
And I'm gonna say that when it comes to those type of players, it's literally like, hey, you need to understand when you're trying to go for higher skill content, like let's say a day one raid mode, you're going to be applying to be on someone's team, right? So like if I wanted to go be on someone like, let's say Pigeon or another content creator's team, I've got to make sure that I've got to have a stacked, nice raid report That's going to show good information. That's going to show I had some good clear times. That's going to show that I've got, I've got vast experience with raids, not just one or two of each individual raid, but multiples of all these raids. And that within the community itself, I've got a good reputation.
Yeah.
And even then, it's going to be a trial, because they're going to want to take me on a couple raids to see how things are going to mesh.
You're not wrong.
Welcome to endgame raiding.
That's how my Vow Day 1 was. I mean, we had somebody drop out like 2 days beforehand. So I put out like a thing for everybody. And there was one guy who was part of the community and everything, joined on. Unfortunately, hadn't finished Witch Queen yet. And I was like, okay, well, I need you to run through Legend Campaign. If you just do that, that'll get you to the cap that you need to be at, where you're going to at least be able to shoot things and actually do damage.
Right.
Didn't do that, and our entire day was a complete wash. Because, doing day 1 as is, and not being prepped and ready as, person didn't really do raids as is, and then doing that underpowered and everything, it just made the experience for everybody else also awful, which, again, I'm not going to, gatekeep or, yell at him or anything like that. I ended up finishing it later with other friends, but it was just again, it's just not going to be a good experience immediately for everybody when it could have been if we had just, prepped and we were more ready.
Most definitely. And and there was one thing that was said to me on stream yesterday where someone said raid report was one of the worst things that ever happened to the Destiny community. And I think that's half correct.
Yeah.
Or at least it's 90% or at least 10% correct. Well, 10 to 50%. Because the reason why I say that is while people taking initiative and making tools for people to track their stats is a great thing in any game environment, there are individuals that abuse it, that use it as a touchstone of oh, you don't have 100 clears, you don't have 90 clears, etc. You can't come in here. But there was people on my Pantheon team the other day where I was like, hey, you got 10, 20 clears of a raid. Cool. You're in, you're fine. But it's if I see a 0, that's where I'm that's a concern. If I see under 5, that means you might have got carried or you have minimal experience. It's very much especially there's some individuals, there was one guy on my team who ended up joining the clan. He hadn't raided in a while, but his Vogue clears, his Deepstone clears were high. They were in the 50s and 60s. So I was like, okay, you could work. And he ended up performing amazingly. So it's not even about hey yo, you're trash if you have 2 clears of one thing. It's, can you show me a track record where you have performed?
Yeah.
And if you can show performance, cool. And if you can't show me drastic performance, can you show me that you are proficient in the game? Because if Diva was here, he'd be your performance in the game is what matters. Because Diva doesn't raid a lot, but that man can go in and show up wherever he needs to. He'll show up and show out. So it's there are some individuals that can just bust ass, but there's some individuals that can't do that. So it's very much, you got to play it by ear, but also show your homework. So show that you've accomplished a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of Pantheon, though, I had a lot of fun. I will admit, Bungie caught me off guard a couple times. I.e., who the fuck thought it was a good idea to put Tormentors in Atrax?
The Tormentors and Atrax. Atrax, the first run I did it was the one run that we first shot it. It wasn't even that bad. It was planets that was probably the biggest issue more than anything, just because we had the fire tornado that was honestly really wasn't that big of an issue. It was just a little bit beefier enemies constantly around, and then a Tormentor while you're trying to communicate across comms between different people and get the planets right and everything, and figure out who needs to go where. That's where it kind of came in really awkwardly. But the most part of the Tormentors weren't bad for week 1, but next week it's gonna be pretty ass.
Ooh, the fire tornadoes were already pretty one-shottable.
They're awful.
That Tuesday, I'm afraid. Like
I can't imagine what the tormentors are going to be like once we get the next stages. Like, because if they're in the last like 2 of like the week 1, they're going to show up on every single one of the right next to them. So it's like, and it like, I mean, conspiracy theory hat, tinfoil hat on. It's like, is it going to be a regular tormentor? Is it going to be like onslaught tormentor where you can't do anything to it? Like, is it like it's going to be it's definitely a gauntlet, if rightfully so.
Yeah, it's gonna be real concerning. I like Cajun's going in on Sunday. I'm taking Cajun in then, but like Cajun even saw yesterday that Caretaker ain't no joke either. Caretaker is not a joke.
No.
That man, like, especially because someone at Bungie thought it was a clever idea to put Taken phalanxes next to Caretaker when he spawns each plate, and you're like, huh? And then you have to have arc damage to break them quickly, so I had to swap my special weapon, and it caught me so off guard. And now, truth be told, especially when when Tuesday comes, I'm probably gonna make a prodigal return from Season of Defiance that has disorienting grenades on it, because the rocket pistol was handy, but especially with these things getting more stronger each week, you're going to need something that can break them shields and confuse them for a minute. And like someone in chat said, even Risk Runner, but like Risk Runner, if you got to have good damage with your primary, your secondary, your heavy, it's like, shit, Cage is gone.
My bad.
The bear is showing. We're revealing the secrets.
Sorry about that.
But no, like, in terms of that, I'm especially, and also DPS. They're like the thing about Caretaker is you have 6 minutes, or like I think that's like 6:30 or something like that, 6-7 minutes to kill him. But also you gotta watch for those health gates. Watch you don't do too much damage, and it will be such a pain in the ass, especially if teams aren't ready for those health gates. And it sucks. Like if you don't get a two plate on Caretaker, it's a wrap. You cannot.
Two plate is a must at this point. And again, that's where I'm like, I don't want to be the gatekeeping guy saying we have to do X or Y, but like it is now. Like, and that's where like I actually really like this mode, because it is kind of like bringing in a lot of those like really good end game strats and forcing them and putting the people through their reps on it. Because I mean, obviously, Final Shape Day 1 is going to be absolutely. I mean, Final Shape Raid Day 1 is going to be probably exactly like that.
Shit, Final Shape Day 1 itself is gonna be a pain in the ass, because
Legend campaign,
Legend campaign is gonna be a wrap. You got tormentors. We don't know what kind of strats are gonna be needed for the brood. Like I'm very afraid. Especially the first time one of those dudes yanks you like a yo-yo. That's gonna be a trip. I'm afraid. Like, I will, in terms of, I think my favorite encounter, while it was a bitch, was planets. But I will say, especially after the stress that was planets, going into Atrax and just throwing hands with Curious of the Falling Star on again was very satisfying. Because this, for a while now, it's felt like unless you had Pyrogale, you didn't matter as a Titan. Like the past, like all Season of the Wish, and kind of part of Season of the Witch too, but primarily this season because of the solar mods. Unless you had Pyrogale, you did not matter. But with Atrax and that burst damage, especially because you don't want your mini tornadoes to rotate to other clones, T-Crash is where it's at. And it felt good to strap my shit on again and do it, because I remember when Curious came out during Season of the Chosen, and you just wind it up and you knocked it down.
Titan was the DPS meta there for a minute. Like, it just makes you so happy.
And that was one of my favorite crowning achievements when Lost Sectors first started to be a thing with Legend and Master. I got my Curious on the first try of doing, I think it was Bunker E15. And I got it on the first. No, it wasn't that. It was one of the Moon Lost Sectors. But regardless, I accomplished it and was able to just start just one-shotting Atrax. And people would just have me slap it on. I'm like, I got you, fam. I got you. But like, it is one of those situations where that chess piece defined a good chunk of Beyond Light's content for a while. And now with Pyrogale, while I enjoy that we have more tools, and I will definitely say, Bungie, I still want my check, because I came up with the concept of Pyrogale a month before it came out. I enjoy there's more options, but I miss slapping on a chess piece and hitting a bitch. I'm just gonna say, I wish we had other exotics, like the big one that I want is I want them to move the ×4 void buff from Doomfangs over to Saint 14 Helm. And I want Doomfang Pauldrons to be the like Sentinel Shield big damage super or something, where like you just chuck like a giant frisbee at a motherfucker and just do big damage. Or like when I even said this in the like because Cosmo put out a tweet about a week or two ago where he was like, "What ideas do you guys have?" And I was like, "Hear me out. Saint 14 Helm, especially with Twilight Arsenal coming out, increase the damage." Add a blinding effect to that vortex, something like make Saint 14 Helm worth it beyond just bubble blind. Make it worth your time. And
no, I'll stick with this. And I've said this to you before. Make it to where Saint 14 Helm allows us to shoot through the bubble.
I've been saying that for ages. I've been saying because there's a lot of other people that'll be like, "Oh my god, that's a problem."
Because then at that you've got overshield, damage reduction. And you've got freaking weapon damage.
And warlocks can do what they want, and I go back to having bubbles shit.
Bring us bubble boys back.
Right. I miss being the bubble king. Like that's how I got my freaking my VOG title when VOG first came back. I was the dude who said, "Fuck Curious, I'm gonna put on Saint 14 Helm and blind these supplicants." And nobody cared. I got so much shit for it, but I was the one that did it. And I love being the bubble king. And when I'm able to do that and be that support, that's why I remember Dan John when he came on the show. He like they were offended that, oh my god, we're about to have well nerfed. And it's like, cool, I understand your frustration. I love being support bubble man. Like I'm Gibby in Apex for a reason. I love throwing shit down, but like I want Bubble to do a thing, and Bungie isn't letting Bubble do a thing, and it makes me sad.
That would be really awesome.
I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it, that Bungie needs to freaking extend those type of support class play to other subclasses, especially for Hunter, because right now the closest thing we got is Tether, but Tether only goes for so far, right?
I don't know. Your Tether and Onslaught this past week has been kind of busted. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that's because of Orpheus rigs. Okay.
Yeah.
You need that one exotic to make it freaking really, really good. But I've talked about this before, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Freaking, hey Bungie, here's an idea. Give hunters an arc exotic that takes freaking Gathering Storm, reduces the damage, however, gives everybody amplified that's nearby the hunter, and that amplify increases rejuvenation and increases weapon damage for as long as the Gathering Storm is still on the enemies are still in the Gathering Storm. So if you nail that damn stick right on the freaking boss's head, guess what? For as long as the Gathering Storm's up, you got freaking healing and freaking weapon damage.
I mean, that's just been the problem with like arc,
but at a reduced cost. And I'm like, you know what? Having an exotic like that, shit. You've got contenders now.
That's been the problem with like Arc Hunter for like the longest time, because like they try to do like somewhat of like a support like defend and everything like that, but like no one uses it because there's just like no real no valuable use of it whatsoever. I mean, like support unfortunately has just like always fallen by the wayside when it comes to that, because unfortunately so many players, I mean, especially when it comes to like solo content and stuff like that, they start going for like the what can do the most damage. I mean, especially like raid content as well. Because I remember back in the day, like, I mean, Crota Day 1, I was doing bubbles on the side so people would get weapons so that we could defend against like the boomers that were shooting us and everything like that. And that's just like not even a thing anymore, because they're, I mean, well just kind of invalidates everything at this point. I mean, obviously they're going to be changing that here soon, but I mean, I mean, what you mentioned, like the Saint 14 thing would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I would love something like Twilight Garrison, like coming up, like something where it kind of is like a Pyro Gale. Like instead of throwing 3 of the axe, you just throw one big one, and maybe you can run it a little bit more with it, do a few more hits with it, something like that.
Well, and I was even saying, like, I wish it wasn't a throw and then you get it. I wish they would just do what they do with Hammer already, where it's like, hey, you pop it, you have an axe. Then it's, if you like, say you have Saint 14 Helm or you have a different exotic, then the alternate version is you throw the axe and create the gravity pool. I wish it was like that. I understand why they don't do that because of the fact that it would like complicate things and just make things too samey for individuals. But I think that would make Twilight Arsenal stand out as if it was like, hey, one pop is an axe, and then if you want to throw it, gravity pull. I think that would be better because I don't want to have 3 random axes on the ground. Granted, I can reuse them, and I also think speedrunning strats are going to be involved trying to use like multiples of those axes. But at the same time, it's like I'm wary of how much that's going to do damage wise. I'm wary if it's going to add a debuff. So I'm hoping that Same 14 help does get looked at because I even said that before the Doomfang buff came out, just make that be for Saint 14 helm. Because Saint 14 is supposed to be this big bad motherfucker, and his helmet don't do shit but blind people. Like, where's the energy? Where's the force? Where's the show that this man is gonna this man spent like hours upon hours killing Savathun for his hit back. And you're telling me all his helmet does is blind? It needs a little bit more gas in this new sandbox, is all I'm saying. Like, it needs a little bit more gas.
It'll be interesting to see like how Twilight Garrison and honestly those new supers in general work with everything, especially with Prismatic, because obviously they're kind of pushing those into the Prismatic class to be involved. But at the same time, like, I mean, me as a Titan main, I see that I'm like, oh, that's neat. But I still have blades. I still have strand blades to use. Like,
someone just said in chat, what if they made Saint 14 helm let you have a movable bubble?
You like can pick it up.
I would lose my kind of like Heir Apparent, a movable bubble. Okay, that would be insane. And the thing is, like, the idea of a movable bubble or even a bubble you can shoot through is gonna get pushback because of PvP. And it makes me mad because, like, you can shoot people while you're in a freaking well. So what's the problem with one specific exotic, especially with the exotic swap modifier, making it so you can't just swap the Saint 14 helm? Why not make it so you can shoot through a bubble if you get a bubble? Like, I think it's unfair that, like, oh, we're not going to do shit just because of PvP. I think it'd be really dope if you could do some wild shit like that.
I mean, we're at like the end of the cycle at this point. It's kind of like, why are we putting constraints on anything? Like, that was like my thing with like Prismatic too, is like when they announced it, I was like, oh, we have constraints. Yet you're kind of talking about how this is taking away constraints. I'm like, just let me have Banner War and Knockout at the same time. Just let me do it, please.
That would be disgusting.
I'm like, just let me do it, please. I just want to see it.
And that's the thing. We don't know, like, if this truly is the end of the cycle or if, Bungie is moving to a different way of delivering content post Final Shape. Like, are they just going to continually stack episodes with, like, maybe some major, like, updates? Or is this going to be, hey, we're going to take Destiny 2 for, a couple more years. We're going to announce some new expansions coming down the road. So you have an idea, we don't know. And we probably won't know until probably post Final Shape.
I don't think we probably know until this time next year, honestly. Like, to be real. Because it seems like the episodes don't go that long.
So I think that they said the episode's going to be longer than a season.
Yeah.
Right. They're longer than a season, but they're scheduled for the same length of a year. So instead of 4 seasons, we get 3 episodes. So it's basically going to take longer each episode, but the overall length is going to be that of a year. Honestly, I think Bungie's going to tell us something probably post Final Shape. I'd probably say after the first episode, we're probably going to be hearing yay or nay on what their plans are.
I mean, they have to be doing something, because why would Sony buy them if they didn't have some type of, like, plans for the future going ahead of them? Because, like, again, why would you buy this entire IP for one final hoorah? Like, no, you're looking to expand it and do more after the fact. So there's going to be something. It's just like when.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
Exactly, and that's why I'm kind of the opinion that it's either we're going to continue to see the new model, but with episodes, or they're going to push more episodes and back down from like the big yearly updates. And so basically every year it's gonna be like, hey, buy these new episodes, for a small chunk, and probably put out like some quality of life updates here and there.
Right.
Just to kind of keep the doors open.
And the thing about it is, I think a lot of individuals were very much of the opinion, you know what, Destiny's done, we're out the door, see ya, last hurrah. But then the last update happened where Luke Smith's like, hey, I'm back. And it's like, say what now? Like,
Luke?
Luke, are you there?
Yeah, but not only that, have you noticed the pattern since that dev live stream? Every single twid, the amount of freaking quality of life changes going on, it's been rather freaking not concerning, but amazing to see. It's like they're finally putting into effect. Oh, I don't know, letting the devs cook.
And why don't we go ahead and that was actually a pretty good transition there, Cajun, because when it comes to the next quality of life update we're getting is that Rahul is getting some ups here, where they're like, hey, Rahul's gonna be the dude you go to for all your exotics. Where it's like, if you do an activity, cool, you get an exotic engram. But if you want to focus that, you gotta go see him. Like we're back to D1 type shit where you gotta go to him for everything.
He's relevant again.
And the idea of it is he's gonna have an upgrade track where like a whole rank system, and then once you get through the first set of the rank system, you will then be able to focus freely of any of the shit at any way possible, even if it's new exotics. That'll be the way you obtain those. Now, granted, one thing that I don't like is they're taking this cool idea and saying, hey, Rahul's gonna be who you go to for this. And they're technically leaving in lost sectors as a way to get exotics, but it's only going to be exotic engrams that you get from those lost sectors. And they're saying they're going to make it so the Vex incursions, their loot pool is going to cap at the final shape to where you can only get Lightfall and back as a catch-up method. And but the thing about it is the reason why I like the Vex incursions so much was it was a knockout system based thing where anybody could catch up and get all their exotics in a very simplistic way. And we started to see a progression of like, it's not as hard to get the new exotics. There's ways to circumvent it. Hell, if you have exotic engrams from lost sectors in your postmaster, and it was a specific day of the week that like legs, arms, chest, whatever, you could just pop it from your postmaster and hey, you have point contact hand embrace on arms day or whatever. And now they're like, we're gonna shove it all to Rahul. And I'm like, huh? Like if that's the one part I don't like about this, because I'm all down for more progression of Rahul and more ways to focus and better ways to get higher stats of these exotics, mind you, because God forbid half the exotics you get from Rahul have horrible stats. But it's like, I'm hoping with this change, we don't just start just saying you only can get exotics that aren't in engram form anywhere else. It feels very weird to me.
I think we are going to see like exotic engrams, kind of like me and Byrdman were talking about it earlier. Like right now, the ritual playlist, you can get exotic engrams from doing, a couple of matches up to like 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's 3 exotics right there. Now that's also per character. So you're looking at 3 exotic engrams per character per week. That's not bad. And there's other sources of the exotic engrams, and of course the chance for it to drop right there and then on the ground. Now, the very interesting thing that reading into this is that it says that the best way to rank up is going to be first through the advanced decryption, the precision decryption tier 2, followed by the advanced, then opening an exotic engram, and last but not least, opening a prime.
Which I like. I like that they're not just like excluding primes and giving, because truth be told, you don't know if you're going to get an exotic to drop. So like having the prime as a backup tool is pretty clever.
But once you finish the track, once you go to prestige, at that point, you're going to unlock tier 3. which then allows you to use an exotic engram and an exotic cipher. So now it's going to give us veteran players a reason to go pick up the Xenology quest on Fridays and stack. Like right now, I've had 5 ciphers sitting in my freaking inventory.
I might go get a freaking Xenology this weekend just for that reason, because I don't have another reason to go get one right now.
and FYI, when you do that, go run the freaking exotic rotator on Legendary. Do that twice. You're welcome. That just knocked out the huge chunk of progress.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So like 3 legend presages will just knock it out?
So, yes.
Oh, shit. I know what we're doing after the podcast.
And see, that's something that a lot of people don't know. Like normal does 4 out of the 21. A legend does 8 out of the 21.
Oh, shit.
That's fine.
Yeah. So 3 legend runs will net you the full quest done.
I'm so back and forth on this just because, again, Cajun and I were talking about this. I come from very farm heavy games like Borderlands, where like getting that like great stat roll on a piece of gear after farming forever is the high of like doing it and everything. And they're taking that away inherently, because like the other day I was telling him, I was farming on leg day for my hunter because I need some better pair of Star Eater scales, and I'm getting a god roll pair of Lucky Pants unintentionally, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that was like it as well. I was like super excited by this, but now it's just like, okay, I'm gonna get an engram, and then I'm just gonna go Raoul and click button and maybe get it right then and there, and then go have to refill.
Well, no, what they're saying specifically is once you unlock tier 3, you can just buy it. Like, it doesn't matter if you have it unlocked or not. Like, the idea is once you get through tier 3, we'll get to tier 3, even if you don't own it, a cipher and a exotic engram will just net it for you, from what I'm seeing. Unless I could be wrong. Cage, am I wrong?
No, that's the way
I think that's like my problem. Then it goes to like the cipher, just because I'm like, I just don't really want to grind for ciphers at that point.
I mean, you get a couple from the battle pass, don't you? Like, they've been leaving like 2 or 3 of the battle pass each time.
Yeah,
I think that's where like the min max in my brain kind of comes out, where I'm like, I like to like test and see like multiple rolls and stuff like that. And again, like you're gonna click on that and it's gonna be a random roll, so you're gonna be burning a cipher at that point to possibly get a really bad roll.
That's true.
And again, that's where I'm saying
I think that's where, once again, we need to like harp on Bungie. Like, hey, let's put in some freaking stat protection, kind of like what you were supposed to have done with the freaking precision focusing. Nothing lower than X amount definitely needs to freaking happen with the tier 3 as well.
Yeah,
but
I would really like Ghosts to have like another slot for like another like stat to like kind of focus into, because again, like obviously most people, like if you're playing PvE, you're going into resilience and like discipline. Being able to like have both those on it, where I know, okay, I'm gonna burn this cipher, burn this exotic engram, I at least know I'm gonna get a higher roll for these 2 stats that I'm really looking for, especially when I put in that much time to get to that tier 3 focus.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So we'll definitely have to see how that develops. I just think this system itself is a good sign that Bungie is paying attention. I think them giving Rahul a focusing option in general was a good step in the right direction, but I feel like they still need to keep paying attention. Like, hey, this is progress, but we got to start keeping the progress going still and not just stall out. We need to keep making sure that there is a progression to the ideas Bungie is putting forth, because if there's not progression, we're just going to stall out. It's going to be like, well, this is what it is. So I appreciate, like, and this is just like what Cajun was saying, is that like there's been a lot of quality of life updates, and some are good and some are bad. Like new shader icons.
And I'm gonna say this, that is definitely an opinion-based freaking right there. Cause I think okay, all right, so let's break this down. With Final Shape, we're upgrading the look and design of the shader icon layout. Shaders are a core way for players can provide a unique look and feel to their Guardian, and we wanted to help continue to make that a better experience. So there they go, and they show the new icons, which to me says so much more about what the shaders are actually going to do.
Right.
Because first off, we all know the icons for the current shaders, which is basically it shows 4 different colors, and then the textures and how they react, which we know some of them ain't accurate as fuck. But now the new ones look to me really, really good. It shows various material, number 1. Number 2, it shows you any glows, how they would look. And it's got more of a color palette that shows, to me, it's going to show like, okay, if I have something with leather, this is what the color's going to look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't inherently hate like most of this, honestly. And I even like how like it kind of like shows like the stitching and everything on there as well. Like kind of giving you like literally everything with it. But I mean, like, what does it matter? I'm just gonna have super black on all the time. What do I care?
Oh, you're one of those people. Okay.
So let me guess. So let me guess. You're rejoining your emo phase.
Oh, it never ended.
It's not a phase, Mom. It's not a phase. But like, okay, here's my gripe, and I made this very clear when I made my comments on Twitter the other day. I want there to be no hate to the artist. I want there to be no hate to the developers. But I'm still going to voice my concern here. If you look at half of these, you see how there's like pink in the middle of the diamond, and then there's pink on the edge, say for Sunrise Warrior, there's like the right triangle shows that. Why couldn't you just, like, instead of making a giant big ass diamond in the middle of the icon, just split the 4 pieces of the pie into 6 pieces of the pie and show us textures, show us everything? Because I have a perfect example of why I've always been frustrated with the shader system. There's a specific shader that I love, that I thought was going to be the bee's knees when it first came out, right? There was this specific shader that I thought was great. It was a pink and black shader. I had it right here. Meditator. Meditator specifically had gray, dark pink, and black. And if y'all know me, I love my pink. My mascot's pink for a reason. And I was like, super cool, super excited. And then I slap it on and it has brown on it. And I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? What are we doing? And like, this would have been a perfect example of, okay, cool. All we need to do is split the pie into like 2 more pieces, if not 4 more pieces, make it a slice of 8 pie, and show every color that's in the thing here. And the example that I gave on stream yesterday is Bungie effectively tried to reinvent the wheel when all they needed to do was put some new tread on the tires. And it's like, I respect the, like, I remember, like, I think one of the developers put like a total little thing on Twitter that like, oh, the artist did a bunch of research to find this and find that and whatnot. And that's cool. No shade, no diss to the developers. They worked hard on this. You can tell there's a lot of thought was put into this. But it's just not hitting for me, bro. I'm just not feeling it. I feel like we this is an overcorrection when all you needed to do was add a couple more colors to the icon. That's just where I'm at.
I just think your fashion sense is lacking.
That's so rude.
I feel so attacked.
Considering how much shit he gives me on a freaking daily basis, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take my pot shots when I can.
Though I will say, I do like that this picture does give us a showing of what the seasonal / expansion icon is going to be for Final Shape, which is like the circle inside the triangle. I think that's really cool. I'm excited for that. So if you look at the armor on the left-hand side of the picture of the thing, you see the expansion icon.
Oh no!
Oh shit!
Yeah, no one noticed that. No one noticed that.
Oh,
they already. Is that the final shape right there? Is it? I mean, it just looks like.
Shape?
It just looks like the Traveler with like the diamond, not the diamond, the triangle already over it, the portal already over it. So that, I mean, that works for me. But yeah, that's I didn't notice that. Good eyes.
Oh damn!
So like, while I enjoy what they're throwing down, I feel like we could have made this a little bit more simplistic, and it feels like we doing the most. So I'll be the contrarian here.
I think that they did a really good job. I feel like it provides a lot of information, and I really do jive with what they're doing and what they're bringing, especially as far as showing like different textures, the colors, the glows. I mean, it's a lot of information and it
Mhm.
expands upon what they already built with the shader system. Hopefully more accurate. Please, Bungie.
I would say like
Hopefully.
accessible as well. I mean, like
Yeah.
the fact that we still have to do. I mean, I think that goes to like transmog for me more than anything. Like, please just
Yeah.
get rid of synthweave.
Mm.
Just like let me transmog. Like, stop putting a paywall behind it.
And
I mean,
Or like
you don't have to. It's not even paywall though. Like you can still go get
do
what you
Ada.
want and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like because you get 10 per character per season. So like all you need to do is go do the bounties.
I really wish it was uncapped more than anything, just so I
That's
could like
valid.
I just purely off that, like I'll put the effort in for it, but don't cap me at as many as I want, because I know the
Here-
reason why they do that, because you're gonna hit a point where it's gonna be invalid. You're gonna get all the pieces at a certain point, but
Mhm.
why are we time gating in a certain way? Fashion,
See, you and me are kin. We're transmog horse. We
Yeah.
believe fashion is the true end game.
one of my really good homies in the community, Abby Hour, she has always been a really big transmog person, and her and I've had plenty of conversations about that. And I'm fairly certain she's on the same page as me in regards to that. It's just like, I mean, in other games that we played as well, like Outriders and everything, like we were trying to do transmog in regards to that, and they eventually did that, and they uncapped transmog, and it was like super freaking fun to do. I mean, I ended up just picking like the most casual looks for every single thing, but at the same time, just having that option was enjoyable.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So that was very much that. Obviously, Cajun is fairly new to PvP, and Bird ain't much of a PvP person, so I will keep the opinions on the ammo system brief. Now, Bungie has come out and said, "Hey, we tried to experiment with the special ammo system. We tried doing a meter system. It seemed to have worked, but some people didn't like it. So we tried to go to ammo crates because we still heard complaints. Ammo crates didn't work either. So we're gonna do a split system where it's a 1-to-1-to-1 system where you can there will still be a meter, there will still be occasional special ammo crates, and there will be ammo that will drop from kills. And I'm just, but the catch is for the meter system, it only gives you 1 brick per meter fill, and I find myself frustrated by this because the reasoning behind the meter system not working that people keep giving, especially for 6v6, is it's a rich get richer situation. And here's the thing. What the fuck are you talking about? The reason why I say that is because we have skill-based matchmaking. It's because that was the issue that I heard, is that the rich get richer in in sixes because people are chaining kills to get more ammo and whatnot. Now, granted, I see their point, because there was a point when I was trying to get my Luna's Howl quest done where I was running around with Last Word and Crimson just nuking people, and then I had like 12 ammo shots for my fusion rifle, and I was like, yo, what the fuck? But in terms of the system itself, though, if you're in skill-based matchmaking lobbies where you're playing people on your skill curve, I don't see the problem. I genuinely don't. But in terms of trials, I can see there being need for some tuning, but I don't understand why we are looking into there being some sort of issue. I don't know if hopefully I'm making sense in that regard.
Doing those quests on Crucible sounds like the scariest experience of my life. Sorochi, all the way.
I mean,
it
said 50 kills for Luna's house. I was like,
oh, was it?
Yeah, it was 50 kills. Let's Guardian kills. I go into Iron Banner, get a couple engrams, use Crimson, Last Word, get it done. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, sorry. I freaking took a freaking copy of Midnight Coup without any type of Firefly or freaking explosive payload or anything, or kinetic trimmers. I just went to breakneck and freaking pop, got all my precision kills. 3 run throughs of that, and I was done.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
Freaking, I'm dead serious. The PvE version of every one of those same quests was far simpler than even going into Crucible. And let's be honest, Bungie, that's something that needs to be fucking addressed. And I've said that before. I've said that before. When it comes to the loot and as well as quests involving Crucible, they take far longer than a lot of the PvE components. As far as the special, when I was doing Iron Banner under the meter system, it felt perfect. It felt like you earned it, and at the same time, you had to be tactical with it. You couldn't just go like blowing your shit all over the freaking map. You know, you had to be tactical with it, and it felt good.
Mm-hmm.
This, it feels like, and I see where they get the where they're using the phrase "the rich get richer," because basically, if you're able to keep that momentum going, and you're able to get that kill after kill after kill, you're going to start stockpiling up, and you're going to be able to maintain that steamroll with the special mixed in with your primary, to where it's going to feel like the match just runs away from the other team and they don't have a way to stop. And especially when you've got some specials that have, let's say, absurd ammo economy, looking at you, Forerunner. Yeah, exactly. You see it? Now is Forerunner going to be the freaking bee's knees in 6v6? Probably not.
It can be, but at the same time, it's like if you're getting mauled by like 4 different dudes, it ain't gonna be the thing you want to play with. And to its credit, Forerunner is one of those guns where you can get your 3-tap pretty smooth, but if you don't have like your dead zones and everything else set up correctly to where you basically have PC aim, you're gonna not hit your shots.
In the hands of a skilled player, Forerunner is gonna cook. And if it still has the busted ammo economy with this new system going into play, that's going to be a concern. And that's something I think Bungie needs to address. They need to make sure that all the ammo economies for all the special weapons are good.
Right.
I think the only thing I'll add with that is just like the fact that, like, as somebody who doesn't do PvP at all, like going into PvP, like this last, like not this current Iron Banner run, but the one before, when everyone was going for the Strand Wayframe and everything like that. Like I went into it and I hated every moment of it. Just
Why
because
is that? I'm curious.
I just don't like it. It's just like I felt like I was getting steamrolled a lot of times. I felt like a lot of times like my teammates weren't doing anything like that. Like they would get steamrolled, and then the other squad was like doing a lot better and stuff. Like when there's not a good balance in there, especially when it comes to, like the special ammo and everything, and people are like just chewing you up with like those good weapons, it just makes the experience like I almost want to get mercied. I just want to get mercied so it's over with already.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hey, Byrdman. I need to teach you the way of the honey bun build.
No, stop it!
Yes!
It's not good.
Yes!
I'm gonna tell Shax to come on the show so I can tell him to his face that the honey bun build isn't good. You want to know why? Because you have to drop somebody's health to under half to get the one-shot kill with the honey bun. It's not consistent, and I don't like it. So it's it's just Ashen Awake grenades.
I love that. I'm with it. I love Ashen Awake. It's like my favorite.
Dude,
let's go.
It is absolutely
freaking
fun. Like I was using it with freaking.
I get it.
I was using it with Battler. I was using it with freaking. With Amit AR2. And then I was using conditional finality in the freaking front just to be that asshole.
JP's gonna be so mad. Literally, that last run of Iron Banner, I was using that
so much.
I'm not even mad at Ashen Wake. I want Ashen Wake to be competently enough that if you get 2-3 stacks of Roaring Flames, you should be able to consistently one-shot a brother with a grenade. I think, especially if you're in 6s, you should be able to chuck a honey bun and knock it out. But also the reason why I'm frustrated by Ashen Wake is when I think when Season of the Wish came out, they were like, hey, we're going to make Ashen Wake do something kind of cool in PvE where it can stun unstoppable champions and it refunds your grenade if you stun a champion. But does it do a whole lot of damage? No. So it's like you can chuck a grenade and stun and unstop, but then you have to fucking still use your weapons and whatnot. And granted, it doesn't hold up to other builds. Like you have like warlocks who can sit there and keep freezing with turrets over and over again. Hunters can do some wacky shit with Gerfalcon and keep dodging and getting their shit. So it's like in a world where these different builds exist, I wanted ashen wait to cook, and it ain't cooking. Like them honey buns ain't as crispy as they should be. Is all I'm saying.
That's like to this day, it might be one of my favorite exotics.
It's a matter of how you play it. If you play the build right, like if you're able to get a couple of shots off on somebody and you throw that grenade, and it hits, that's it. Let the steamroll commence.
Oh, I'm interested now. You got me.
I'll send you the TikTok after the
Let's
show.
Go.
Like, because I keep saying I want Shax to come on the show at some point, but like I generally just don't feel like it's not that good of a build. Like I want Roaring Flames to one shot somebody if we go say, "Hey, this is what matters."
It's just like any other build. It's very rare. Especially in the current sandbox meta, to have a grenade build that's just freaking massively OP. That's going to be able to one shot.
Right.
In this case, you're gonna have to do a little bit of work. You're gonna have to, you got to play your freaking the enemy team. But like I said, once you freaking get it going, it's really a fun build. It adds something new. And for me, it kind of brought back that, hey, PvP is fun. Because even when I didn't have a grenade on the ready, okay, cool beans. When I know that it's up, I know that I'm gonna have a tool in my kit. But otherwise, the freaking gunplay, everything was feeling good in the current sandbox. The only thing I did have an issue with the last Iron Banner run was the freaking engram drop rate and the freaking fact that the freaking GL and Multimac were not dropping.
Which
supposedly
they did fix that.
Yeah. But even by then, I got my God rolls and I was like, yeah, and I gilded freaking Iron Banner. So I was like, yeah, I ain't sticking my dick in that shit anymore.
I mean, I'll admit, I want to feel sympathetic for people who are like, oh, the rich get richer off the meter system. But the thing about it is the ammo crate system wasn't much better. You had motherfuckers walking around with 12 shots of Forerunner on Burnout just capping people. So it's like when people say, "Oh, we want something different than the meter system," Bungie warned everybody, "Hey, if y'all don't like the meter system, we're just gonna go to the ammo crates," and that's what they did. And we saw the carnage that would ensue from that. And nobody listened. I felt like the dude from Astronomy Club going, I tried to tell y'all, and nobody freaking listened. And now we're Bungie's trying to find a happy medium where it's like, hey, there's ammo crates, hey, there's a meter system, hey, you get bricks on kill. And it's just like, we're doing too much. Like, at this point, just go back to how it was pre all this changes, where it's like, you have special every round, and that's it. Like, because at this point, we're just mixing too many things with the kitchen sink, and it's just not doing it for me. Like, I was happy with the meter system. It felt like Cajun said, it felt rewarding. It felt like it was worth your time, and I was fine with it. So I'm conflicted on the future of the game, but we shall see what happens moving forward with this. Like that was pretty much like where I wanted to leave that specifically. Now, final topic of the evening. Salta Grepo, well-known, 3-4 time world's first raider, put out a statement this weekend because it was a couple days ago, where originally I think it was last week, he put out a giant list of different changes that he wanted to implement into the game when Final Shape drops. I'm not going to read off every one of those, that's doing too much, but in terms of his response to a lot of people giving him hate, he posted a big thread where he broke down his feelings on his impact in the community. And I wanted to talk about it specifically because I feel like it matters, especially after our talk last week about the Destiny community and its ramifications. And I feel like this is important. And like I've told Stalter before, like, hey, you have an invitation on the show whenever you want to come on. He has declined it. No big deal. But in terms of what he had said, look, I don't want the game to just be harder just for me. I try to voice changes that I think are important. I think of it both for high-level players as well as low-skill players. If you don't like a take of mine, who cares? You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about it. And the thing that irritates me is while I don't like every take he throws down, Bungie and Salt have both said the div nerf was not his fault. The div nerf was 3-4 months down the pipeline before he said a word. And it was just the like it's like Hannah Montana episode 1. Emily Osment's like, what a coinky, like that kind of shit. Like it was just that kind of happenstance that the two coincided with one another. In any other situation, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
And the issue at hand is so many people are like constantly at his throat. Now, granted, and I even said this in his comments. I got a response? No, but I said, look, the reason why I have frustration with you is when I tried to interact with you about your suggestion for a well nerf, or like even the idea of nerfing well, you tried to tell me that it is mathematically impossible for Master Nezarec to kill you in a well. That is a lie. I have had it happen to me. I have seen it happen to other individuals. It exists. And it became such a meme because of what he said and because of what his fan base in the replies attacked me about it with, that anytime someone dies in a GM or even a normal raid in our clan and on my streams, we all say, don't you know it's mathematically impossible to die in a well? Because the idea, the concept even, that well is the end all be all. Yes. Is it kind of overpowered? Yes. But at the same time, you can die in a well fairly easily in most encounters. And I straight up said, look, if you're going to be this voice in the community that says these things, similar to when Bife kind of went off on Bungie about Lightfall, Bife came out and said, look, don't attack the devs, you dumbasses. Like this is not the way to go about this. I think what Salt needs to keep in mind is that he is a powerful voice in the community. And there are a lot of toxic individuals that treat his word like gospel. And there's even people yesterday who were coming through my streams going, Pantheon isn't that hard, and laughing at us for trying to get through Caretaker and watching us fail and laughing at us. But at the same time, it's like, not everybody can get through shit in mid-max and do everything and not die to a grenade launcher and yada yada. Like, hey, and hell, I've seen pros die to grenade launcher and rocket launcher shit just from walking in front of each other. A well can't save you from that, damn it.
No,
like,
you cannot.
Like, so it's very much one of those situations where I'm like, look, you have a powerful voice, and if someone says some fucked up shit from your community, you need to be able to stand on business and speak on it. And that was the thing that I said is like, you became a meme in our podcast, in our clan, in our streams, because you said some whack ass shit. You were very dismissive, and you have been dismissive of other individuals. And it may not be a situation of, look, I am a toxic individual who just wants the game to be hard, but you got to be careful about what you say. And I don't think he should ever be attacked. I feel like the monument of what he has become to people of, oh, this person just wants the game to be hard, is hyperbolic at best. Like, hell, even a few weeks ago, I was rewatching the TikTok that Watson made of us talking of my suggestion for Unstoppable Wyverns, and then Cajun and Diva saying, I want Dark Soul. Oh my god.
Why would you do that?
I will explain my reasoning later. But I watched that back, and the way Cajun and Diva said that I want Dark Souls level of hard, that's what a lot of people think Salt wants. And Salt vehemently said, look, no, I want the game to be healthy. And he talked in his thing, he talked about that he wants damage reduction to matter. He wants the stats in the game to matter entirely, because other than resilience, no other stat in the game fucking matters. And like, it's to the point now where half my builds, I only have run like 20, 30 intellect because we're pooping out orbs so damn much. So it's like, supers don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So it's very much one of those situations of, he wants the overall health of the game to matter. And if you don't like his takes on things, just don't care.
Yeah. And no, I mean, Cajun, you were talking about this earlier with when it comes to like mods and everything, lowering those, like the values and all those and everything. I think that would like really help in a way of being able to move stats around and be able to boost certain things like that if they were to like make them more valuable. But I mean, that goes to like a bunch of different things. It goes to like bubble being relevant. That goes to things like banner shield being relevant. I guess obviously I'm thinking of like immediately just like Titan, but then you've got like arc staff for Hunter. Like there's a lot of things that are irrelevant because Bungie has not put the time in to make them relevant. And it's unfortunate when I'll kind of defend him in a little bit. It's unfortunate when he like makes like suggestions and being like, hey, let's change things around, and people like shit on him for it. But I will say, like, there is times like the community does like get just ravenous for no reason on his opinion and for his opinion.
Yeah. And I will agree. Like, look, I'm not a fan of Salted Grumpo. Okay. I've never followed him. I've never went and watched his content. But I've heard some of his takes. And when Jay sent me this link, the Twitter, and I went back to the original, and by piecing the two together, Jay, how many times have I said the exact same thing?
A lot.
A lot. And basically, I'm going to read a paragraph. Ultimately, the game right now has this problem. Some end game, especially GMs, does too much damage, feels miserable unless you hard stack, damage resist, and healing, which isn't fun. The base game, like for example, normal mode dungeons, has this weird limbo where they are almost overtuned when running no DR. But if you stack high DR, you legit cannot die. Final encounter of Ghost of the Deep being the biggest offender, since to go get the deep site, you either have to go invis, proc resto, or get woven. We desperately need DR to be tuned down so that activities can start being balanced around lower DR, and we are able to play them with any build without being at a disadvantage. So first and foremost, 100% on the money, Ghost of the Deep. The only way I was able to solo that with Strand, Titan, Banner of War, Restoration, pre-nerf, Restoration, and I still go running that bitch with Strand Titan. Why? Because it's busted in that particular instance. Why? Because I can go hit the deep site with no problem.
Now I want to add a caveat to what Cajun is saying. That and Salt even talked about this in his replies. That does not mean we need to nerf characters or aspects or fragments to complement the idea of we need to make content harder. No. Case in point, people will say all the time, a Banner of War is busted. No, it just is doing its job. And other subclasses like Stasis, like Void, like Arc are not able to thrive in this sandbox because of that. Solar's only thriving right now because of the seasonal mods. I'm going to keep it $150 because even last season when Pyrogale first came out, Solar wasn't that great, and you had to compensate for the fact that Consecration wasn't that great, and they even had to buff Consecration after the fact. And it's one of those situations where we're kind of at a weird limbo point, like Salt said, where unless there's a seasonal mod that complements a build, you're not really seeing anything outside of the specific picks you need to get content done, i.e. being able to use Thunder Crash for A-Tracks for Pantheon. But I bet you $150 here in a minute once the upper tiers go higher. I'm not going to be able to survive those sniper shanks here in a minute with Arc. It's not going to happen.
No, exactly. And this is what we talked about just before the podcast. Right now, the best builds for doing endgame content either deal with restoration or damage reduction. Solar, healing. Strand, damage reduction. Void, healing. That's it. Freaking Arc provides no healing, no damage resistance. And Stasis, same thing.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
With like the Stasis, they're talking about doing like the Frost Armor and everything. We haven't been able to really see what that's going to be. Obviously, it's going to be some type of damage reduction. But when it goes like Arc 3.0, like was like really cool and everything. But unfortunately, like some of like the really good exotics that like really paired well with it, they nerfed over time. Especially, I'm always gonna like think like Titan first and foremost. So I think of things like Heart of Inmost Light. It took forever for them to get like point contact braces going in like a really healthy, cool way. But again, the two aspects I have for it are knockout, which requires me to do melee, which I like is cool and all, but in endgame content, you're not really going to be doing a whole lot of that. And the other one just like buffs my grenade, which is neat and all, but again, that's only like a really somewhat +1 right there. So it's just like there's, I mean, again, we talked about this before. There's got to be either like some type of like inherent healing in each class or some type of inherent like great consistent damage reduction. Again, we mentioned like an idea for Arc in some way, like maybe have it where like if you're amplified, your recovery is boosted to the max and you're able to like constantly keep up good healing in that regard. Where it's like not being able to just like be like Solar where you just chuck a healing grenade at your feet and just like fix it instantly, but at least it's some type of like difference that eventually down the road with a certain artifact or something like that, it could be beneficial and be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And like I said before that I feel like the resilience stat right now is too much of a crutch for a lot of content and for a lot of players. And I think that Bungie needs to go back to the freaking bell curve when it comes to resilience. For those familiar, back in the day when it came to resilience, when you got up to a certain point, after that, to get any more, it was basically you put too much to get too little in return. And
the bell curve is the solution, though. Like I think I like what Bungie has done.
And so thinking about it more, I do agree with Agreppo. I believe resilience should be knocked down from 30 to 15. However, my own take, let's add on to the class ability. Okay, the class stats. Okay. So in this case, for a Titan, resilience would net you an actual 30. But for a hunter, you don't have to go all the way into resilience to get 15. You can then start going into your mobility to gain innate resilience from that on top of what it does for your class ability. Same thing would go for Warlock, to where technically you would be able to spec into your class. As well as if you want a little bit more resilience, as long as it doesn't hit past 30%.
So, like, I had a suggestion back when Celtic Rebel first started talking about the damage reduction issue, and I had a perfect solution. Either fix the stats kind of like how Gage was talking about, or just make class abilities their own stat. Kind of like how AE is its own stat. Make class abilities be their own stat. Because the thing that I keep hearing from PvP and PvE people a lot of the time is they don't, like hunters especially, don't like the fact that they have to spec into resilience just to survive in both endgame content and in PvP when mobility is supposed to be the most important thing. Which I get, and from a D&D standpoint, that kind of sucks too, because you're having to sacrifice certain things and whatnot. But I like having the idea of having to min-max and sacrifice certain things because I come from Dark Souls and other RPGs and just D&D in general. But at the same time, if those other stats don't mean anything and don't give you any advantage, then what's the point? Why are we even complimenting this idea of, resilience gives you this damage reduction if the other stats don't give you anything of benefit? Like, mobility gives you more strafe speed, but it doesn't do much else. So it's like, I feel like they need to reevaluate the rest of the stats if we're going to be moving into the final shape. Maybe the shape needs to be new stat distributions, if you know what I mean.
And I agree. I think that putting a bell curve on a lot of the stats, not having to focus so much on 100, like, if you're going to be doing something like low man's contest mode stuff, right? Like end game challenges and content. Yeah. Those are the people that are going to be pushing for tier 10, right? But for the casual player, it should be okay to be running tier 7 and that be like the beginning of the bell curve. So they're at the max of return on investment. Anything past that is you're going to be paying too much to get too little gain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when there was like a moment where like I remember running like Ursa, Banner, shield builds where like having like high intellect was like such an important thing in a lot of the stats so that you could get that back so fast. And now it's irrelevant because we mentioned it before. The orb economy is so high that you can create so many that it doesn't really matter. And then also like on your helmets, you have perks that, you know, if I'm running like a melee build, I'm going to get like my super back so freaking fast. It doesn't even matter for me to have this entire stat.
Dynamo is a motherfucker.
Yeah, well, I mean that. I mean, like I'm thinking of like I mean, whatchamacallit, on Void Titan using oh my god, what are they called? Doomfangs. Just chucking shields all the time with like a Monte Carlo. I have my thing almost instantly back every single time. It's just why would I even worry about intellect at that point when I just have all these things that are able to boost it up instead?
Yeah.
And again, I think that's like something that would like make like the build crafting part of it as well a lot more interesting. You're seeing a lot more builds with like high other stats other than just like get my grenade back as fast as I can, get my damage reduction up as high as humanly possible.
But at the end of the day, I think what Salt did was he started a conversation, and this is what the community needs to understand. Him as a content creator, part of our job as content creators, those that choose to do this, we're here to start conversations.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here to, hey, instead of just like go screaming with pitchforks and torches in front of Bungie's Twitter account, let's talk about this.
Oh my
Let's
god.
talk about things that maybe give them ideas, because hey, I'm going to tell you right now, when you're in the freaking hot box, sometimes your brain ain't going to come up with all the freaking whiz bang ideas you want. Sometimes that outside perspective is needed. And for us as gamers, we're going to be able to see things that most devs aren't going to be able to see.
And the thing about it, that like what he just said is that like Bungie even said during the PvP map live stream, having people from the community come in and give their opinions on the maps and like, hey, this should be this certain way, this should be this, and like we shouldn't just have a giant 6v6 arena like the Witch Queen map. Like we need to have dynamic places to play was a great thing. And they even said this was a great thing to hear from the community, but I bet you any amount of money those people came at it in good faith and didn't just trash Bungie. A, because they didn't like morons, but B, they wanted to offer constructive criticism in a healthy way. And not enough people. Like we talked about this multiple times before. Not enough people know how to give constructive criticism. They just want to give angry rant. And it is very rare that you will ever see us go on an angry rant. And 9 times out of 10, it's angry rant towards the community, not Bungie. I think even when the layoffs happened, we were in a place of sadness, not anger. We were very much wondering where had Bungie gone wrong. And because when it comes to conversations, we never want to be like Bungie rage. We want to make actually talk about things and offer the constructive criticism needed. Because I've like even in the guest pitch email that I send to people, we want to be the bridge for the community to the devs. And if we can't even come at them in good faith, well, as a community, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing when it comes to wanting the game to be better? And one thing that was even said from like a different game community was Helldivers this past week is like one of the devs was in the Discord and was like, hey, good job speaking your mind. We don't have a whole lot of power on this, but good job voting with your wallet and your reviews, and like we respect your opinion on things, and that's cool. Like that's what people want you to do is vote with your wallet, vote with your opinions, but like don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
and people don't know how to do that.
That's the problem. Is like at times like that, like the internet itself can be just like this gigantic wall between human beings that you forget that there is another human being on the other side of that wall. I mean, I've been involved in a couple different games where I've been able to be on the back end and talk with like developers and stuff like that. And like one of the biggest things they harp on is constructive criticism, being able to give evidence of where, you know, things actually are bad. It's not just I think this should be. Somebody who's always given like really great constructive feedback is one of my friends, Moxie. He's done that in multiple games for Gearbox. He's done that in regards to like Power World stuff and a bunch of just different games in general. He always is able to like find like good examples, good facts to back everything going on. And unfortunately, like a lot of times when people on Twitter, especially when they're like yelling on like a Bungie post or something like that, it's a lot of just rage moment. I want to tweet out something in 240 characters to tell you how mad I am, and then you just get lost in the sauce. And again, forget that there's another person. Realize that, hey, guess what? Because you just came at it so hot shot, like hip fired it, like they're probably ignore you now. And it's just not going to get anything done.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great way to, that was perfect. So, I definitely feel like with the future of the game, and we even gave Bungie a lot of praise tonight. They are like making a lot of quality of life updates, and the future of the game is looking very bright. And we have a month to go. We don't know what next week's gonna bring, but I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what goes down. I very much am psyched to see. Bert, you were an amazing host. You hung out with us through a little bit of technical difficulty, and we appreciate you for that.
All good.
What is your closing statement that you want to leave the people with?
Oh, wow. Probably the biggest thing, I mean, I think we really hit on it just a second ago, is just take a quick second, step back, realize the person on the other side of like the internet that you're fighting with is another human being who probably has their own shit going on, issues like that, and just be as human and charitable as humanly possible. Unfortunately, I think charitability is something that we have like really lost in day and age, when you can post your opinion on any second of the day and like see thousands of people see it instantly.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's one of the biggest things. And it's just like, I mean, I'd probably just say like find a good group of people around you and just cherish them and hold them dear. Because unfortunately, again, like there's a lot of good people out there, a lot of bad people, sheep's clothing, so just always keep the good ones around.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Cajun, how you want to lead the people this evening? I'm curious.
I'm gonna be solid on this.
Ooh, solid.
I'm gonna follow.
Oh my God, it's a puppy!
No, keep going, Cajun. Ignore him. Ignore him.
No, I had to stop the puppy. He's cute. I'm gonna follow up with Bird on this one. And I'm gonna speak as someone who sees himself as a content creator. There are times where I will put takes out that some people aren't going to agree with. There are times where I will put out a take and even JP won't agree with me on it, and vice versa. There are times where we meet in the middle. There are times where we will agree on the take. Here's the thing. We are all different. We are not the same cookie cutter individual. Everybody is unique. So that means we're going to have unique experiences, unique takes, and we need to understand it's okay to disagree. It's okay for people to have different opinions, especially content creators. The hate that Salted Grubbo got and has been getting, I'm going to say community, stop it. This animosity towards content creators, you need to understand. We are trying to bring your voice to the devs. I'm not a Bungie creator, okay? I'm a run-of-the-mill content creator.
We wish we were on the Bungie creator program, but like we do this show because we like doing it.
Part of me does, but at the same time, the other part of me doesn't.
Why?
Just because, here's my take.
You don't want to look like you're a shill.
I don't want it to look like I am reading from the script that they provide. That's part of like what's in my brain. But at the other point, I want that opportunity to engage with Bungie, if possible, to bring my experience to show like, hey, these are things that I've seen from other games that I think may benefit your game and may give it a longevity that surely you want, especially when you're trying to make money.
Yeah.
Money. So it's a damned if I do, damned if I don't. But at the end of the day, no matter what, Bungie creator or not, I'm going to advocate for this game. I'm going to be critical of Bungie and Bungie's management. Most definitely the management.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it in the most civil way possible. And I'm going to encourage my community to do it in the most civil way possible so that at the end of the day, we vote with our wallet. We vote with our voices. And if we can't do either, bye.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, it has been a rough few weeks for me. for a lot of us. And I will be the first one to say, I almost threw this game out the window for the first time in a long time. I think like in years, because of some community shit. I had a relationship go wrong and almost made me want to tear my own flesh off because of my Saint 14 tattoo. And that sucked. And I lost what I thought was really good friends because of the like just interdrama of the stress this game can cause. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that it's just a game. Not enough people don't understand that. Granted, this game has saved lives like mine. I know I may shit on Cade fans all the fucking time, but there's some diehard Cade fans that are like, Cade saved my life. His story saved my life. Props to you. But like, I feel like he's overhyped and the Ace of Spades needs to get nerfed. Don't come at me. But I feel as if a lot of people. I knew he was going to do that, but I think he Cajun whipped out his Ace of Spades that he just bought for people on the audio version. But I feel like a lot of people need to understand. People are very passionate about this game, and people want to climb the mountain, and some people just want to have fun. And not enough people make their intentions known. And it kind of goes back to what I said about Pantheon at the beginning of the show. People need to know their limits and be transparent about their limits. And not enough people get tricked by the FOMO. People get tricked by the shiny, as Cajun put it. And they throw themselves into the deep end and hurt their mental health. And it can cause strain on relationships and friendships, and it can end poorly.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I feel like if this game has any longevity, more people need to start checking themselves at the door and understanding, hey, maybe this activity ain't for me. Maybe this ain't for me. Maybe my mental ain't up to snuff. And I think the other thing that needs to be vocalized is that's not a bad thing.
No, it's
your
not.
Health matters the most above anything. And not enough people understand that. So as we move into the final 30-day countdown, please manage your health, manage your sanity, and as Bird said, keep the people you hold dear close. But make sure that people you hold dear are the right people. Because you want to go into the final round with the best foot forward. And someone in chat even just said, don't burn out. Burnout will turn you into one of the most ugly people. And not enough people understand that. So we will catch y'all Starside. We'll be back next week. Peace out.
Later.